The 7 levels of Batman's contingency plans explained. Level 1, Trash Contingency Plans. Green Arrow, Break the Bow Guy. He is one of the easiest files in Batman's database, not because Oliver Queen is weak, but because every dangerous thing he can do starts with the same motion: draw the bowstring. Batman's entire plan hinges on shutting down that single action. He's studied Oliver's form, the tension he uses, how he rotates his shoulder, even the tiny micro-adjustment he makes before picking a trick arrow. One dislocation, one well-placed nerve strike, or one micro-dart to stiffen the elbow, and the whole archery system collapses. Batman doesn't even need to get creative. But Bruce does prepare a creative option, because he's Batman. He keeps specialized nanites tuned to disrupt Oliver's equilibrium. Once they hit his bloodstream, they don't kill him. They make him violently dizzy. Oliver can't stand, let alone aim. In Batman's notes, this is filed as a rapid neutralization method, which is a polite way of saying the fight is over in seconds. To him, Oliver isn't a puzzle, but a skill set glued together by one arm and one tool. And the moment either stops functioning, the Green Arrow becomes just Oliver Queen, a good man, a strong fighter, but not someone who worries the bat. Booster Gold. Turn off the toys. Booster Gold's file reads almost like satire. Batman outlines 2 threats: future technology and Booster's ego. Everything Booster does depends on the tech. Flight, force fields, energy blast, time jump encryption. Strip away the suit and Booster becomes extremely human. That's where the EMP comes in. Bruce keeps a calibrated pulse designed specifically to shut down 25th century circuitry. One detonation and Booster's shields flicker out, his visor glitches, and the suit becomes heavy metal instead of super armor. But the real genius is what happens next. Batman doesn't attack. He steps out of the shadows and challenges Booster to a fair fight. Booster walks straight into it because he always wants to prove he's more than his gear. He takes the swing, he overcommits, and 10 seconds later, he's on the floor questioning his life choices. Batman records Booster's average time to defeat without tech: 40 seconds. Not a kill plan, not a torture plan, just an embarrassingly efficient shutdown that Booster's pride makes even easier. Vixen, Steal the Totem. Honestly, Vixen should not be in the trash tier. Mari McCabe is disciplined, powerful, and one of the league's most versatile fighters, but her entire power system funnels through a single object: the Tantu Totem. Remove the totem, and every animal ability, strength, claws, speed, senses, vanishes instantly. Batman doesn't try to overpower her. He targets the totem directly with a magnetic retrieval dart tuned to its alloy signature. One shot, and the necklace snaps off her body before she even fully recognizes the attack. The moment it leaves her skin, everything changes. Her muscles return to human limits, her hearing dulls, her speed drops, and her instincts shift back to normal baseline. What makes the plan even more effective is Vixen's immediate reaction. She always tries to reclaim the totem, even if she's outnumbered or overwhelmed. That reflex gives Batman the few seconds he needs to restrain her cleanly. The file doesn't mock her, but the tone is blunt. A centralized power source is a liability, and Mari's dependence on the totem makes her easier to shut down than most civilians with gadgets. Level 2, Bad Contingency Plans. Zatanna, Kill the Voice, Kill the Magic. Batman's file on Zatanna feels more like a medical procedure than a fight plan. He respects her, probably more than he lets anyone know, but he documents her vulnerability with a level of precision that's almost uncomfortable. Her entire spellcasting system runs through spoken language: backwards words, forward words, whispered syllables. It all depends on her voice reaching the air. One damaged vocal cord, one gag, one carefully timed chokehold, and the world's most talented magician becomes someone who can't access her arsenal. Batman's method isn't theatrical. He notes exactly when she's most vulnerable: mid-performance, mid-breath, or mid-conversation. A micro-dart to the throat that inflames the larynx shuts her spellcasting down instantly. If she has time to pivot to gesture-based magic, he uses containment: airtight glass, zero oxygen vacuums, or sealed chambers where sound physically can't travel. Once she can't speak, the danger evaporates. Zatanna is brilliant and resourceful, but her reliance on verbal casting is a blueprint Batman can exploit with almost clinical certainty. Shazam, Shut the Kid Up. Billy Batson is one of the most powerful beings alive. The problem is Batman's plan leans into a fact the Justice League rarely talks about. Shazam is a child with world-breaking power. Billy only transforms after saying a single word. His entire god-tier identity depends on a volume of sound coming out of a teenager's mouth. Batman targets that point directly. The contingency starts with silence: a gag, a muzzle, even a paralyzing agent to freeze his jaw muscles. Anything that prevents vocalization shuts the magic down. If Billy is already transformed, Batman uses a second method involving tranquilizers laced with trace doses of Eternium. Eternium reacts violently with Shazam-level magic, and even minimal exposure can knock him unconscious long enough to secure the battlefield. Billy isn't immune to real-world vulnerabilities either. The file notes that emotional shock or sensory overload can delay his ability to speak long enough for Batman to act. Batman doesn't enjoy this plan. That's obvious in the tone of the notes. But contingency doesn't care about feelings, only effectiveness. Black Canary. Silence and amnesia. Dinah Lance is a problem most opponents underestimate. Batman never has. Her canary cry alone can flatten armored vehicles and vibrate steel into molten ribbons. Her martial arts skill is elite enough without powers. And with powers, she becomes one of the most dangerous close-quarters fighters on Earth. So, Batman goes after two parts of her identity at the same time, the voice and the memory. First is the throat. Using a specialized muscular toxin, he temporarily paralyzes the vocal cords, preventing her from channeling the canary cry. She can breathe, she can speak, but she can't project the destructive resonance that makes her a threat. The real cruelty shows up in Phase 2. Batman keeps a hypnotic protocol specifically designed to erase or scramble targeted skills. When used on Dinah, it wipes out her martial arts training long enough to neutralize her combat proficiency. She becomes trapped between two versions of herself, a fighter who can't remember the techniques she spent her life mastering, and a metahuman whose primary ability refuses to activate. The file labels this as a safety measure, but anyone reading it sees the weight behind the strategy. It's effective, but the cost, psychological, emotional, personal, is something only Batman would be willing to carry on his conscience. Level 3. Mid-contingency plans. Red Tornado. Hit Control plus Alt plus Delete. He is one of the strangest cases in Batman's files. He's powerful enough to tear buildings apart with wind pressure, but also fragile in a way no Kryptonian or Amazon could ever be. He's a machine built around a soul. Batman studies both halves, and his plan plays directly into that split. The first step is simple: shut down the hardware. Red Tornado has been hacked, reprogrammed, or remotely hijacked multiple times across League history, and Batman documents every incident. He uses that archive to create a targeted electromagnetic pulse tuned specifically to Tornado's internal processors. One pulse drops him out of the sky like someone yanked the batteries. But Bruce never relies on a single layer. If Tornado's systems adapt, he moves to infiltration. A custom virus, quiet, fast, and shaped around Tornado's unique code, slips in and corrupts his decision-making core. The goal isn't to destroy him, the goal is to make him freeze long enough for containment. Batman knows Tornado's consciousness is a merging of logic and elemental force, and if the machine half-stalls, the Wind Avatar can't stabilize. The file ends with a note: treat the entity with respect. Tornado isn't a threat Bruce enjoys neutralizing. He's one of the few who understands Tornado's struggle to stay himself. Cyborg, virus, and EMP combo. Cyborg's protocols look like something out of a military cybercrime briefing. Victor Stone is brilliant, loyal, and one of the most connected beings on Earth. Literally, his body is a living interface with global technology, and that turns him into both a powerhouse and a vulnerability. Batman's plan starts with a virus designed to overwhelm Cyborg's internal firewalls. Not destroy them, just slow them. A slight delay in Vic's processing speed is enough to keep him from predicting Batman's next move. If Vic compensates, Bruce has a second strike ready, an EMP that targets his cybernetic systems without risking lethal harm. The EMP shuts down his sensory feeds, his weapon systems, and even his vocal processors, leaving him briefly disoriented. Batman pairs this with a psychological component most people wouldn't think to weaponize. Cyborg forms emotional attachments faster than he admits. His teammates, his responsibilities, even his personal belongings. Victor carries stress like data packets. A sharp emotional overload, delivered at the right moment, destabilizes his human side and disrupts the balance he needs to control the tech. Batman doesn't take pride in this file, but Victor's connection to the world's infrastructure means that if he ever lost control, the consequences would spread far beyond any battlefield. Firestorm, Phantom Zone timeout. He is one of the most dangerous beings the Justice League keeps on the roster. The ability to rearrange matter at the atomic level is something even Superman treats with caution. His approach doesn't try to overpower that ability. He removes the environment that powers it. The Phantom Zone is his primary method. In that dimension, there's no physical matter to manipulate. No molecules, no atoms, no elements. It's like dropping a painter into a world with no colors. Firestorm enters the zone with limitless potential, but nothing to act on. His transmutation ability shuts down instantly, leaving him frustrated, powerless, and unable to reshape anything around him. The logistical part is where Bruce gets meticulous. Firestorm requires a fusion of two minds to operate, and those minds don't always sync perfectly under stress. Batman waits for a moment when the mental link between the Firestorm Matrix users falters. That's when he deploys the zone projector. The sudden disorientation makes the dimensional pull even more effective. Batman views this not as punishment, but as containment. The Phantom Zone isn't meant to torture Firestorm, it's meant to temporarily separate him from the very concept of matter. And once that happens, the Nuclear Man becomes a spectator instead of a threat. Level 4. OK contingency plans. Green Lantern, John Stewart, blind him with his own ring. Batman's file on Jon Stewart reads like someone dissecting a battlefield architect. Jon is disciplined, unshakable, and dangerous even without a ring. That's why Batman focuses on the one angle Jon never questions, his own belief in his senses. The plan begins when Jon is asleep. During deep RM cycles, the mind is open, and Batman uses that window to plant a post-hypnotic trigger, an unshakable conviction that he is blind the moment it activates. Lantern energy obeys the user's perception, and when Jon believes darkness surrounds him, the ring confirms it. It shuts off visual input and seals him inside a world made of nothing. That's step 1. Step 2 is designed for someone as mentally strong as Jon. Batman deploys Scarecrow's fear toxin, modified to bypass lantern filtration. Not to terrify him, but to fracture his willpower just enough to interrupt ring stability. The combination turns Jon from an architect of light into someone fighting his own mind for clarity. The file notes that Jon always tries to rebuild structure under pressure. Batman uses that instinct against him by pushing him into a psychological maze he cannot stabilize fast enough. It's clean, controlled, and built entirely around the respect Batman has for Jon's discipline. Aquaman, hydrophobia and dehydration. Aquaman's strength on land is impressive. His strength near water is something else entirely. Batman's plan aims directly at the source of that difference: hydration and comfort with the ocean. The strategy starts with a modified version of Scarecrow's toxin that induces an intense fear response specifically tied to water. Not drowning, water itself. Once the toxin settles into Arthur's system, even the idea of moisture becomes a threat. His instincts twist against him, and the environment he rules becomes something he can't approach. With that psychological shift in place, Batman transitions to the physical side. He traps Arthur inside a controlled, air-conditioned chamber designed to wick moisture from the skin and accelerate dehydration. Even Atlantean physiology begins to break down when kept away from water long enough. His strength fades, his regenerative abilities stall, and his endurance plummets. Batman doesn't treat Aquaman like a brute. The file is clear about that. He treats him like a king who draws power from his environment, and by stripping that environment away, he reduces the threat without inflicting unnecessary damage. Arthur's resilience is respected in every line, but Batman prepares for the worst, because Aquaman at full power is a force that could level continents if pushed. Hawkman, cut the wings, break the cycle. Hawkman brings a level of ancient rage and military precision that few heroes can match. Batman doesn't try to counter the reincarnation aspect. He goes straight for the physical signature that gives Carter Hall dominance in the sky: the nth metal harness. The wings aren't cosmetic. They're the engine behind Carter's aerial supremacy, enhanced senses, and gravity manipulation. Batman studies the connecting points across the chest and back, memorizing the exact joints that hold the harness in place. His plan uses a heated cutting wire or a focused sonic blade designed to sever those connections in one clean strike. Once the wings detach, Hawkman drops into a purely physical fight. No flight, no momentum advantage, no sky tactics. He becomes a warrior relying on mace, armor, and centuries of combat memory. To counter that part, Batman introduces environmental traps: tight corridors, low ceilings, and magnetic flooring that disrupts nth metal residual effects. Carter is still dangerous, but now he's grounded, frustrated, and forced into a fight he didn't intend to have. The file doesn't paint Hawkman as reckless. It shows him as someone who leans on mobility and aerial combat the same way others lean on energy or magic. Remove the sky and Carter becomes a grounded soldier instead of an airborne war god. Level 5. Good contingency plans. The Flash. Weaponize his own speed. Batman's file on the Flash looks less like a plan and more like a list of warnings written by someone who has watched speed break physics too many times. Barry Allen is pure motion. Once he accelerates, the world bends around him. Sound, light, gravity, all of it. Batman doesn't try to outrun him. He makes Barry's greatest strength collapse from the inside. The first step is contact. Batman uses a neck-level micro-injection system designed to deliver specialized nanites directly into Barry's spine. Those nanites trigger short, violent electrical misfires throughout the nervous system. A normal person would drop instantly. Barry doesn't. He runs, and that's where everything unravels. At super speed, even a momentary tremor becomes catastrophic. One seizure, one flicker in balance, and Barry collides with a solid surface at speeds that tear through concrete. Batman isn't counting on killing him. He's counting on the crash removing Barry from the battlefield. Batman prepares alternatives in case Barry phases through the injection or reacts before contact. One of those backups includes freezing Barry's metabolism. The Flash taps into the Speed Force through biological energy cycles, and a metabolic freeze severs that connection long enough to neutralize him safely. Magic is another tool. Batman has access to spells that can rewrite Barry's physical form temporarily, turning him into a wooden puppet with no access to his powers. Every option exploits the same principle: slow the Flash, even by a fraction of a second, and the battlefield belongs to Batman. Wonder Woman, Infinite VR Deathmatch. Her file reads like someone trying to cage a hurricane. Diana is powered by divine strength, unbreakable will, and centuries of combat mastery. Batman doesn't attempt brute force. He goes after stamina and psychology, two parts of Diana that normally never show cracks. His plan uses nanites designed to intercept her sensory feed. The moment they activate, they pull her consciousness into a hyper-realistic virtual reality arena. Inside that world, she encounters a perfect opponent, an endlessly adapting warrior who cannot be defeated. Every time she lands a strike, the opponent adjusts. Every time she pushes forward, the simulation recalibrates. The fight stretches into an infinite loop where victory is mathematically impossible. Diana refuses to give up. That stubbornness is the weakness Batman targets. She keeps fighting until her real body collapses from exhaustion. Amazon physiology can endure more than any normal human, but even it has limits. The simulation is built to grind those limits down without inflicting physical injury. She wakes up alive, but too drained to re-enter combat. Batman labels this plan high-risk ethical territory, acknowledging that emotional damage is a possibility, but he also knows what Diana is capable of if mind-controlled, corrupted, or unleashed without restraint. Containment is the only rational path. Plastic Man frees the unkillable. His file is among the shortest in Batman's vault because the solution is brutally direct. Eel O'Brien's shape-shifting makes him effectively immortal. Bullets, blades, blunt force, they all bounce off. He can liquefy, stretch for miles, flatten into paper, or survive explosions that wipe out entire structures. There is almost nothing on Earth that can kill him. Batman doesn't aim to kill him, he aims to lock him still. Liquid nitrogen becomes the entire foundation of the contingency. When Plastic Man is hit with the freezing agent, his molecules slow and lock into rigid formation. He doesn't shatter. He doesn't die. He becomes a frozen, living statue, conscious but unable to move or reshape himself. Once immobilized, he can be transported to a containment vault built to keep his temperature below the melting point. His file notes that Plastic Man remembers everything during this state. It's terrifying, but effective. No torture, no violence, just a forced shutdown of a being who can otherwise tank anything the Justice League could throw at him. Level 6. Great contingency plans. Martian Manhunter. Turn his skin into fuel. Batman's file on Martian Manhunter reads like something written by a man who understands he's dealing with a god. John Jones is telepathic, telekinetic, intangible, super strong, and faster than most speedsters when he wants to be. But for all that power, there is one biological flaw that has followed every incarnation of his species: fire. Not regular fire, the fear of it and the way his body reacts on a cellular level. Batman's plan is disturbingly efficient. He uses a nanite virus engineered to rewrite the chemical structure of Jones' outer skin layers. Once activated, the nanites convert those tissues into a magnesium-based compound. Magnesium burns instantly upon contact with oxygen, even underwater. That means the moment Jones shifts out of intangibility or takes a breath, his body ignites, not in a cinematic explosion. This is a slow, horrifying chemical burn that keeps renewing itself until a counteragent shuts it down. Batman keeps that counteragent ready, stored separately as aluminum oxide. The goal isn't to torture John, it's to force him into a shutdown. John withdraws into intangibility when overwhelmed, but once the fire starts, even that defense becomes unstable. His telepathy scrambles, his muscle control collapses, and his ability to stay cohesive in physical form fades. The file repeatedly states that Jones should be treated with respect, and the plan is only for scenarios where his mind is compromised or corrupted, but the method is clear. Batman takes the one fear Jones can't conquer and turns it into a biological trap that ends the fight in seconds. Green Lantern, backup plan, become fear. Batman's backup lantern protocol is a different kind of nightmare. This one is around stepping into their power if they fall. The notes describe a single object stored under maximum security, a yellow lantern ring. The Sinestro Corps' rings don't obey hope, willpower, or morality. They obey fear: who creates it, who commands it, and who can survive carrying it. Batman understands the emotional cost of wielding one. He also knows the ring chooses the strongest will in range if its bearer dies or becomes unworthy. In several documented scenarios, that person would statistically be him. The contingency is simple. If a Green Lantern goes rogue, dies, or loses control of his ring, Batman allows the yellow ring to sync with him. Not forever, only long enough to counter an out-of-control Lantern in a ring versus ring confrontation. The file describes this process with almost clinical detachment. Batman acknowledges that fear is a tool he already uses tactically. The ring amplifies that instinct to cosmic levels. Constructs become sharper, harder, and faster. His imagination becomes a weapon capable of matching Lantern output blow for blow. The biggest risk isn't physical, it's psychological. psychological. Yellow rings whisper. They encourage dominance, they push for escalation. Batman logs that risk without flinching. This contingency isn't about beating a lantern, but becoming one at the exact moment the universe needs a will strong enough to manipulate fear without being consumed by it. The ring would try to claim him. It might even succeed for seconds at a time, but the plan's success hinges on one fact every lantern already knows. If fear must be mastered, Batman is the closest thing the Corps has to a safe wielder. Level 7. GOAT Contingency Plans. Superman. Red Kryptonite Sensory Overload. Batman's contingency for Superman reads like something designed by someone who understands the difference between a friend and an extinction-level threat. Clark isn't just powerful, he's the measuring stick for power. Every file, every preparation, every scenario in the Justice League vault shifts when his name appears, and Batman's plan reflects that weight. This version of Red Kryptonite isn't the unpredictable kind that randomizes transformations. Batman engineered it for one purpose: turn Superman's senses against him. The compound reacts with Kryptonian biology by making the skin fully transparent. Light, radiation, sound, everything hits Clark's body raw, with nothing to filter it. His senses go from enhanced to catastrophic. He starts absorbing solar energy faster than he can regulate it, flooding his nervous system with more information than any brain, human or Kryptonian, can process. The result isn't death, it's paralysis. Clark tries to steady his breathing but can't. Every heartbeat feels like a sonic boom inside his skull. Every flicker of sunlight burns like a welding torch across his muscles. He collapses, not because he's injured, but because the entire world becomes too loud, too bright, too sharp to survive consciously. Batman includes several backup layers in the file. One is an ionizing radiation chamber calibrated to disrupt Clark's power intake. Another uses hypersonic frequencies that target Kryptonian ear structures specifically. The notes are precise, meticulous, and grounded in years of observing Clark's limits, because genuine limits are rare for him. What makes this contingency so unsettling is how calm the file sounds. Batman writes about Superman with respect, even admiration, but with the clear-eyed certainty that if Clark ever loses control, mind control, corruption, grief, nothing on Earth can stop him. The file ends with a single line that feels heavier than any weapon: use only if there is no other choice. Batman, exploit the trauma. The final contingency in Batman's vault is the one he didn't create for himself. It comes from the Justice League of Assassins after they stole the original Babel files. But when the League forced Bruce to confront it, he admitted the truth. This is the only plan that would work on him. Batman's weakness isn't physical, it's psychological. He survives injuries that would hospitalize normal people. He endures fear like it's background noise. He calculates thousands of scenarios before stepping into a room. But his past, his parents, his failures, his guilt, cuts through every layer of armor he's built. The file centers on distraction through grief. In the Tower of Babel breach, Ra's al Ghul's operatives stole the bodies of Thomas and Martha Wayne. They didn't torture Bruce or poison him or attack him directly. They hit the center of his identity. Bruce lost operational focus. His timing slipped, his reaction speed dropped, his judgment blurred. For minutes, a lifetime in his world, he wasn't Batman. He was a child in an alley again. The contingency uses that same principle. Hostages linked to Bruce's past, reminders of failures he carries, symbols connected to Gotham's history, anything that forces him into an emotional spiral. He becomes slower, more distracted, more reckless. His strength is discipline, and when that fractures, his entire combat system fractures with it. Batman acknowledges this vulnerability in the file. He doesn't try to deny it or find a way around it. He simply states that the weakness exists, and if someone needs to stop him, they must aim there. His trauma is the only pressure point that bypasses strategy, gadgets, preparation, and skill. It's the darkest entry in the vault, and it's the only contingency Bruce admits would defeat him completely, and that's it. Now to you, if you were forced to beat Batman using nothing but information in this video, which contingency would you turn back on him? Comment down below, leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more amazing videos like this one.